Hi, I'm Wilson Smith.
And I'm Crystal Campbell, and this is Breaking Chain.
Our guest today is Wade Cox. He's a lifelong resident of Itawamba County and a U.S. Army veteran and a recovering addict. Wade, how you doing?
I'm good. Yourself?
Good. Glad to have you
Wade,
here.
glad to have you here.
Thank you, Chris. Good to be here.
So, Wade, tell us a little bit about where you started before your recovery, where your life was.
Well, like you said, I was an Army vet. I went to school my whole life here in Itawamba, and then right out of high school went into the Army for 4 years. The transition back to civilian life wasn't kind to me. It was a little rough. As I started to go through and get started in college and find jobs and stuff, come to find out that it was more difficult than the military life that's regimented and clocked out for you than what I was used to. So I started using marijuana and alcohol back then, and off and on through the years, I went to them and then quit, and I'd do drugs and then quit, and just finally stuck with those two things, and went through a horrible divorce, and that kind of escalated the drug use and alcoholism a little bit. But over the years, I started and stopped a lot of times. I started my own business and went through that and ran it for 15 years. And once I retired from there, and I was about to marry my third wife, when I hit kind of a midlife crisis there, and it was rough on me. The fiance left me, and about the same time, a few months later, my kids went off to college. So there was the empty nest thing going on there too, where I always had someone as a buffer to take care of. So I had to take care of myself to take care of them, and all that was gone. So I decided that the best thing for me to do was to just go on a bender and get with the young kids and whatever they were doing, the younger crowd, 20-year-olds and stuff, and find out what they were doing and get into that and go on a bender for a few months and then come back to my life. Well, during that time, I got hooked on crystal meth, and it took over my life, and I stayed addicted to it for about 5 years, and it took a toll on me, and really that's when I started getting in bad trouble. The other drugs just was a little misdemeanor here or there, but the meth, crystal meth, really done a number on me. I caught 2 felonies and was about to go to prison when I ended up in drug court and tried to straighten my life out from there.
How did you get sober? What was your breaking point from meth to I want sobriety, I need help, I need God?
Well, that was the police officers really did me a great favor when they arrested me both times. The first time I was still in denial. I didn't have a problem. It was a thing where I told myself, and even there's a question when you go and check into jail that says, do you have any substance abuse problems or anything? And I tell them, no, I don't have any problems, except for the fact that y'all keep arresting me when you catch me with them. That was how in denial I was about how much it had taken over my life and how much it was destroying me as a person. The thing that changed that for me was the last time I got taken to jail was for misdemeanor things, but I was so high that the officers knew and they called my probation officer. I was already on probation for 1 felony. I had another felony pending, and they came to pick me up for misdemeanor charges and knew I was high and called my probation officer. That's when my probation officer told me that if you fail this drug test, I'm going to send you to prison. So at that point, I knew that I was going to prison from the fact that she told me that I was, and that she wasn't giving me any more chances. So I resigned myself as I sat there and detoxed from I know a week-long meth binge. I sat there in jail detoxing and withdrawing and sick from that. I decided that if it takes going to prison to get off these drugs and build my life back to what it was, then that's what I'll do. And I started to pray. I told God that if He would take this off of me, I would never use another drug, and I'd be whatever He wanted me to be. And that night, I was sick, still withdrawing, still dry heaving. After 6 days of being in jail and coming down off the methamphetamine I was on. And one of the prisoners got up and beat on the door until one of the jailers finally helped me with some medicine to ease my stomach and help me sleep, because they were not sympathetic. They're not sympathetic at all in the jail system or the judicial system about it being a sickness, not the addiction or the withdrawal after you quit. They're not sympathetic to you at all. And but I finally, once I prayed that prayer and this prisoner got me some help, the next morning I woke up a new person. It was like the whole thing was off of me. At that point it was over for the suffering, physical suffering of what I'd put myself through, and it's like part of the consequences were over at that point.
So you're saying that God touched you in jail, and that's where most people do not believe that God can reach us anywhere.
Yes, I've heard people talk about jailhouse salvation as that's just something that they do, and no, I'm here to tell you, touched me in jail. God's in that jail just like He is right here. Amen. And He touched me, and I preach jailhouse salvation because if the person is sincere, it can last, and it has lasted in me. I was blessed not only with the sickness coming off of me, but I was also blessed with the fact that when I went to get sentenced to my prison sentence, that the judge that was on desk that day was Judge White, who is the drug court judge. And once he found out that I had only drug-related charges, he offered me drug court. I did the induction process, the application process, and found out I qualified for it. So not only did He save me from my physical pains and agonies and consequences, He saved me from a prison sentence that I had earned with my actions. Yeah. And that's when I wholeheartly, with everything in me and all the faith in God and the process of getting clean, I devoted myself to getting sober and staying sober.
Okay, what are some tools in your recovery, and how do you stay in recovery today? What are the tools that you use to build your recovery and make your walk longer?
In the beginning, it's different because you're walking by faith and you're walking into something that you no longer know as reality. Sobriety was not something that I had lived in 5 years. Right. I mean, if I went a day sober, I was in bed asleep. So I didn't know what reality was like anymore as a sober person. So you walk out there in faith and you believe in the 12 steps. You believe in God, which the first step of the 12 step is believing in a higher power and trusting Him with your life and doing His will in your life, accepting His will in your life. And so that was the main thing, getting step one drilled into my head, and like I said, I bought into it wholeheartedly with all the faith and passion that a person could devote to it. And when I went to therapy, though, they teach you some things like your person, places, and things, how to change those things, and that's something that a lot of people new in recovery don't do, is change your people, places, and things, which put it's like tempting fate. The Bible says you're not supposed to tempt fate, but you're having those temptations right there in front of you when God has delivered you from them. Right. And that's something that you cannot do in your recovery process. So when I bought into this wholeheartedly, and they said people, places, and things, I cleared my house. My wife ran people off. There was people pulling in the drive, and we were running out there. No, you can't be here. We know what you do. I don't care if you're here to do it or not. We know what's in your pocket. You've got to leave. And we did that for about 6 months, just because until you're strong enough to conversate and be around those people who are going to be a temptation, until you're strong enough to where it's not a temptation. You can be strong enough in your will at some point to where being around people who do have drugs and are on drugs are not a temptation. And that's what we waited on before we let anyone come back into our lives that were that we knew was still dabbling in drugs, or that we were trying to help get out of drugs. I mean, you can't help someone while you're saving. You can't save a drowning person while you're drowning yourself. So we had to get to a point to where we were on stable ground before we could help those people who we still loved and that were in addiction. And so the people, places, and things, doing that first step of the 12 steps and turning everything over to God. And really, now it's more like the tools they give you in therapy is reframing, to where when you think back on your past, you don't use it as a spot of shame to bring yourself down. You really use it as a point of reference to how far you come.
Right.
And to where you are now, to change it to a positive thing. So all those things in your past that were dragging you down and making you feel bad about who you are now positive markers as to who you are now. And reframing those things and making them positive is a big deal throughout the recovery process. That way you can use those things to help other people. That's another point. Not just how far I've come, but I've been there where you're at. I've done that mistake. Let me show you don't have to do it anymore.
It's like retrain your brain of the way we're thinking, because in addiction, we're one way, and we have
mostly negative, yes.
Yes, and negative and anger ways in addiction, and that's something in recovery that we're not used to is feelings. When we start getting sober, we start having all these feelings come back, and some we don't recognize, and some that we do. And how do you deal with the feelings that you have when you start getting sober and they start flooding back into you? What was going on with you then?
Well, that's the main reason for addiction is people that are running away from those feelings. And I was no different. I didn't want to feel the things that as they came to me, as the bad things especially. And if it was good, I wanted to make it even better by staying high during it. So you hiding from them feelings and then feeling them once you get sober. Main thing I had to do was sit down and learn how to. I had to silence myself, a lot of meditation, a lot of quiet time, until I knew how to express those feelings without being over emotional, or to express them feelings in a positive way, to where it was not just socially acceptable, but healthy for me. Because you can run from them feelings and hide them, and you get bogged down in them, and it can lead you right back to addiction. So you have to. I mainly just sat down and until I realized how I needed to express those, and I felt them. I had to teach myself how to feel again. Right. And that took. And I was lucky. I had time to sit down and be in my own space and be in the silence and learn how to do that again without being out there in the world, because I'm retired, and there's a lot of time that comes with retirement that I can get those things inside myself fixed, that as I learned what was broken. So yes, a lot of quiet time, a lot of meditation until you can learn how to express and feel those feelings, and it be healthy for you and socially acceptable. Yes.
Yes, that's, when you first got on drug court, as you mentioned earlier, you and your wife done this together. Y'all hand in hand throughout the whole thing. It's a miracle that y'all could stay together through your addiction, and now you're recovering after addiction. Y'all both are recovering and still together and holding each other strong, and that's applaudable.
That's something that I didn't know was going to happen when I found out I got drug court, and like I said, Lord blessed me with that, because He saved me from that consequence of my actions, just like He saved me from the physical consequences of my actions, and He let me get out here in the free world again. I didn't know if my wife was going to stop doing drugs and take this journey with me, and I was blessed yet again when she decided to. And we had to walk our own road with recovery. It wasn't something that we got together and we got together and decided we were going to do it. But she had her traumas and pains in her life that caused her to do drugs were different from mine. Right. So each road to recovery was different, but we did it at the same time and supporting each other. And it helped us build our relationship and let us know that we were meant to be together, because we weren't just in love while we were in addiction. We we fell in love with each other again during our recovery. And like I said, Lord's just been blessing us ever since. We keep doing the next right thing, and the next good thing keeps happening. So we're blessed with that.
That's wonderful. You said, the love in recovery, because, as a recovering addict, that's what I was striving for, somebody to love me. What's the most important thing in your recovery today?
The most important thing in recovery today is doing what God's will for you is. Step 12 is what you carry with you after you go through the 12 steps, and keep doing the next right thing and keep God's will in your life. And I feel like He's led me down the road to experience these things firsthand. And now I'm coming out of retirement and going to school to get my psychology degree so I can become a substance abuse counselor. So it's different for everybody, but that was my path that God showed me that I needed to go down. And each time we try to discern what God's will for us is. There's certain questions you have to ask, like, is this good for my life? Is this good for people around me? God's not going to send you something bad to do in His will for you that's going to be bad for you or bad for anyone else. There's a way to discern your own thoughts from what God is pushing you to do. There's certain questions you can ask, and sometimes you just know this is what God's leading me to do, because the power that powerful feeling you have when you meditate on it. And I spent a lot of time thinking about whether I should do this, if I was doing this for my own glory, or if I'm doing it because this is, I have this wealth of information about how to be an addict. And now I've gone through the road of recovery and fairly successful, and I feel like I've studied it while I was going through it to learn some things. And the next step, going to college and learning the psychology of it and getting licensed in it. I think that's something that can help someone else. So this wasn't for my glory. It's because I feel like God wants me to use everything I've been through to help someone else, and maybe turn those negative things in my past to a positive for someone else.
So you're saying you have goals out there.
Yes.
You set yourself up with goals, and to meet them goals, you make goals to meet to make yourself better, because that's what God wants us to do, is be better in Him, and knowing that it's God telling us this is what we need to do is awesome, because in addiction you don't have the little nudge of God, so you're numb, really.
Right. You can't feel His presence on you, and you're not searching for what His will is for your life. So I mean, you're really just aimlessly bouncing through life with a negative cloud over your head that can take you at any time. And but now once you get back into God's will and keep seeking it and keep asking what the next right thing is. I love that, the way they worded that in 12 steps. Keep doing the next right thing.
Amen.
Because I mean, you can sit there and accomplish one thing and just dwell on it, and then of course you're stagnant, stale, and if you're not progressing in your recovery, you're falling behind. There's no stagnant there. You're going to fall short of what you need to do to keep that temptation and that addiction away. So to keep doing the next right thing, make sure just on its own, you don't even have to worry about keeping the addiction or temptation away, because doing the next right thing in God's will keep it away for you.
Right.
Yes.
You just move further and further away.
And I think that's why people struggle. They don't do those first things that you have to do, like people, places, and things, and they don't turn their life over to God and His will for your life, like it says in step 1. And if you don't do those things first, then everything you do after is going to be a struggle that you're not sure you're supposed to be doing, because you didn't wholeheartedly, with everything in you, believe in God or do your people, places, and things and clean your life out so that God's will can be shown to you. And so I feel like a lot of people that are struggling with that have to go back to that first step and clean their life up with the people, places, and things, and have a wholehearted spirit toward and belief in God that His will is going to take you out of this. And I'm proud to say that I haven't struggled with it, and I feel bad for people that do. I've seen it happen many times, and that's the common denominator, is those first steps weren't taken.
Right.
I know it's different for everybody. Do you see yourself attending meetings or having to attend meetings for the rest of your life?
I'll be attending meetings for the rest of my life in one capacity or the other, right? Like I said, I'm going to become a substance use counselor. So if I'm not holding a meeting and I feel like that if any thought of any drug use or addiction comes back into my head, I'll be in a meeting not as the person running it, but in the crowd with everybody else, because I know I need some maintenance there. And but right now I go to meetings religiously. The one that's here at the TV station is an awesome meeting that covers good topics that every addict needs to address. I love coming here, and Kim Benefield has a meeting, and those are the ones I go to religiously because they address issues that every addict has to face. And I really enjoy and love everybody at both groups.
And the meeting he's talking about is Unchained on Friday nights from 6 to 8.
It's here at the Unity Broadcasting TV 39 studios in Fulton at 5525 Highway 178. And if you need more information, you can call me. My name's Wilson Smith. My number is 662-551-0090, and I'd be happy to give you any help we can give.
We do give signatures for drug court and CPS.
We were fortunate that Wade and his wife Regina came to run our meeting last week because of sickness with the leadership, and we'll probably have you back this week as well.
Right.
Yeah.
I enjoy running the meetings. I enjoy doing what I can. Like I said, the thing that's been one of the main things that's keeping me sober right now is doing the next right thing. So trying to run these meetings is not anything that you can do for your own glory. If you're in it to hear yourself talk, you're going to fail. You're going to have people falling back out into addiction. But the meeting here at Unity is one that is done in love, and I feel like the topics addressed, like I said, are ones that every addict should be able to talk about in a comfortable setting and feel confident that what you say here is going to stay here. And that's something that's really important for someone's recovery, is to feel safe and feel comfortable to let out those, because you are touching on some intimate traumas that's happened in a lot of people's lives, and we deal with that in therapy a lot, with the trauma therapy, and of course as you go through the 12 steps, it's hard to make those lists on step 5 of all the things that you're holding, resentments you're holding against other people, resentments that other people are holding against you. And I even did one more because my therapist told me to make things of resentments that you're holding to yourself. And that was something that really touched me and hurt me all at the same time, to see the person I was during that addiction, and to look down and see all the people that I had hurt. And I still don't believe that I had a complete list of those things, but as they come up, that's the beautiful thing about the steps. You can redo the steps as you need to.
Yes.
If something from your past comes up to confront you, or that someone reminds you of something you've done in your past that wasn't on your list that you haven't dealt with, then you deal with it at that point. You don't do like we did before and just put it in the back of your mind and walk off and ignore it so it builds up. You deal with these things as they come up, and that's why it's not so overwhelming after you get through the first time of going through the 12 steps. It's really overwhelming to a lot of, was to me. But when I realized that I didn't have to go through that 3-page list of people that I'd hurt, and I could wait till it came up. A lot of them had moved away. A lot of them had passed away. A lot of them, I don't know where they're at now, so I couldn't find them to make amends to them. But in my heart, I knew that the one that affected me the most was the resentments I had toward myself, for letting myself get so bad and so down to a point to where I let people do these things to me, or that I did those things to other people. And I held those resentments against myself, because all the ones in this column and all the ones in this column were really in this column too, because I allowed these things to happen in the other 2 columns. So the most thing I had to learn to forgive, the person I had to forgive the most was myself, for allowing this to happen to me, and allowing the things that happened to my family and my wife and everything, because I was in addiction. I had to learn to let that go and forgive myself for it, and the biggest thing you can do for your family or the people you've hurt, and the people that are still there for you, even through your addiction and now in your recovery, is that a living amends to where they see you living your life day to day as a healthy person in God, in His will, and prospering.
Amen.
Because they saw you destroying your own life for so long, and that's something that I was very, very blessed with. Also, my kids, my mom came up to me early on and said they were proud of me bawling, apologizing for the way I acted over the past 5 years. But they were really quick to take me back in, hug me up, and tell me it's okay and that they're proud of me. And I can't see letting them down by going back to that life, because they are not just that they're proud of me, but to see how much better off they are, that they don't have to worry about me.
Yes.
I mean, it's not for me to glorify me or say I did something to help them. It's just that their mind is so much more at ease. When she comes around me, there's not a sorrowful look on her face like she pities me. There's joy to see me. And out of my kids, same thing.
That's God.
And that's God repairing what the devil took away during your addiction. And like I said, that's a very important thing to remember during your recovery, because it can keep you doing the next right thing. Just seeing the benefits of it and what God will do for you if you do.
Okay, Wade, with the addicts that may be watching, or somebody that's family members out there that is in addiction, what would you have to say to them to try to draw them into our Unchained meeting on Friday night?
Here at Unity on Highway 178, here at the Four-Way Stop and Clay, this meeting touches on everything you need to know to prepare yourself for what's to come in your recovery. We cover the 12 steps programs. We get in touch with God. We touch on issues that every addict is dealing with in their heart and in their mind because of their addiction. It's a confidential, safe, comfortable place to let your feelings out and be truthful with yourself and another human being about the nature of your addiction. And no one judges, no one, if anything, will pray with you while after we get done with the meeting, while the meeting's going on. And really, this meeting is one of the best ones as far as getting in touch with the problem and letting someone vent their issues without being judged.
Amen. Well, Wade, we thank you for being here.
I've enjoyed it. It's been great.
Everyone is welcome to our Unchained Recovery meeting on Friday nights from 6 to 8.
And you can find us at Unity Broadcasting Studios at 5525 Highway 178 in Fulton. And once again, if you need to get a hold of us for any reason, you can reach me directly at 662-551-0090. And Wade, it was great to have you here with us, and we hope we can do it again.
I hope so too. Thank you. You're welcome. I enjoyed it.